just as it seemed Samsung was riding the crest of the artificial intelligence wave, a sudden and dramatic blow has sent shockwaves through the global technology sector. Samsung, the pride of South Korea and widely recognized as the world's second-largest semiconductor maker, has just announced that its operating profits have plummeted by more than half. This bombshell has left investors, analysts, and competitors scrambling for answers. But how did one of the world's most powerful technology giants reach this precarious moment? The answer lies in a tangled web of geopolitics, fierce economic rivalry, and the relentless pursuit of technological supremacy. Stretching from Washington's corridors of power to the sprawling industrial centers of Beijing, and from Silicon Valley's innovation hubs to the very smartphones in your pocket. Are we witnessing the opening gambit of a new technological Cold War? And more importantly, can Samsung, a titan with deep roots in the global supply chain, survive this unprecedented squeeze? Let's unravel the story behind these headlines, peel back the layers of international intrigue, and explore the seismic shifts shaping the future of global technology. First, it's crucial to recognize just how vital Samsung is to the world's technology infrastructure. Samsung Electronics is not just another tech conglomerate. As the flagship subsidiary of the sprawling Samsung Group, it dominates South Korea's economy, accounting for a significant portion of the country's exports and employment. The company is the linchpin in the world's technology supply chain, supplying everything from memory chips to display panels, storage solutions, and advanced sensors. If you own a smartphone, whether it bears the Samsung logo or not, there is a very good chance that several of its key components were designed or manufactured by Samsung. But in the latest financial quarter, the world watched as Samsung's operating profit nosedived to approximately 4,600 billion won, a sum that translates to about $3,300 million US dollars. This represents a jaw-dropping decline of more than 56% compared to the same period last year. Even more startling, this profit figure came in more than 20% below what most seasoned analysts had forecasted. To put this in perspective, this is not just a mild setback or a minor market correction. It is a dramatic reversal that has sent tremors through global markets, wiping billions from Samsung's market value and casting a long shadow over the future of the technology industry. So what triggered this sudden collapse? The answer, in a word, is geopolitics. Specifically, the tightening web of United States export controls aimed at preventing China from acquiring the world's most advanced artificial intelligence chips. Washington's overriding concern is that these state-of-the-art chips could fuel Beijing's ambitions in both the military and technology sectors, potentially giving China an edge in areas as diverse as advanced weaponry, surveillance, and next-generation computing. For Samsung, which has long walked a delicate tightrope, relying on China for both manufacturing and sales, while also depending on U.S. technologies and access to American markets, these new restrictions have created a perfect storm. Key divisions within Samsung's sprawling semiconductor empire have been battered by this storm. Inventory values have slumped, as chips that once commanded premium prices now languish in warehouses. High-tech factories that cost billions to build are running well below capacity. An unthinkable scenario for an industry where scale and efficiency are everything. As one leading analyst, C.W. Chung of Nomura, observes, while short-term headwinds are inevitable, Samsung's long-term competitiveness hinges on its ability to innovate and adapt to the evolving geopolitical landscape. But the pain does not end with a single bad quarter. The United States-China technology war has forced Samsung into a complex and high-stakes balancing act. On one hand, U.S. regulators are relentlessly expanding controls, dictating what Samsung can sell and to whom. On the other, China remains both a massive consumer market and a critical manufacturing base, a market that Samsung simply cannot afford to abandon. The South Korean government has responded with a series of urgent interventions, proposing generous tax incentives, offering policy support, and funneling investment into domestic chipmakers in a bid to ensure the nation's technology champions remain globally competitive. Samsung, for its part, is fighting back with a multi-pronged strategy. The company is accelerating research and development into high-bandwidth memory chips, known as HBM, which are in surging demand for artificial intelligence applications. Samsung is also forging closer partnerships with domestic equipment suppliers, aiming to reduce its reliance on American and Japanese technologies. In a bold move, the company is pouring billions into manufacturing facilities in Vietnam, seeking to diversify its production base and hedge against political risks in China. These efforts are not just about survival, they are about rewriting the rules of global technology competition. Still, the central question remains. Can these measures truly offset the massive financial losses? And is the entire global semiconductor supply chain on the verge of a historic realignment? Kim Youngwoo, an analyst from SK Securities, notes, Samsung's strategic pivot towards high-bandwidth memory and advanced packaging is a shrewd play to tap into the booming artificial intelligence market while navigating the pitfalls of export controls. Yet, this strategy is not without risks. If export restrictions tighten further, or if China accelerates its own efforts to achieve chip independence, the very future of the world's technology ecosystem could hang in the balance. To understand the gravity of the situation, it helps to look further back in history. The world has seen similar technology splits before. During the Cold War, the globe was divided into competing technology spheres, each side building its own systems, standards, and supply chains. The West dominated computing and telecommunications, while the Eastern Bloc attempted to develop homegrown alternatives. The result was inefficiency, duplication, and slower progress for everyone. Today, as the United States and China harden their positions, we risk repeating this costly division. Experts warn that if the world fractures into parallel technology ecosystems, consumers could face everything from higher device prices to reduced innovation and slower rollout of new features. Let's zoom in for a moment on Samsung's strategy. The company is not just waiting for the storm to pass. Samsung is actively investing in advanced semiconductor technologies, such as high-bandwidth memory and custom artificial intelligence chips, both essential for powering next-generation data centers, autonomous vehicles, and smart devices. These chips are the backbone of technologies like ChatGPT, self-driving cars, and advanced cloud computing. By focusing on these cutting-edge products, Samsung hopes to carve out a leadership position in the rapidly growing artificial intelligence sector. To reduce its vulnerability, Samsung is also intensifying its collaboration with homegrown equipment manufacturers, aiming to build a more self-reliant supply chain. The company is working closely with South Korean partners to develop alternative sources of critical manufacturing equipment, minimizing its dependence on U.S. and Japanese suppliers. This is a crucial step, given that past export restrictions on materials like photoresists and etching gases have exposed the fragility of global supply chains. Meanwhile, Samsung's move to expand its contract chip manufacturing, known as its foundry business, is a calculated bet. By offering its state-of-the-art facilities to non-Chinese clients, including American artificial intelligence startups and European technology firms, Samsung is seeking to diversify its revenue streams and offset potential losses from restricted Chinese sales. As Park Sung-soon of Hana Financial Investment points out, Samsung's foundry business expansion provides a valuable opportunity to broaden its customer base and lessen the blow from artificial intelligence chip restrictions. But Samsung's approach is not just about technology and markets. It is also about policy and diplomacy. The company is vigorously lobbying the United States government for clearer and more predictable definitions of export control regulations. The lack of clarity has created confusion across the industry, with many companies caught off guard by sudden rule changes or ambiguous language. Samsung's executives have held high-level discussions with U.S. policymakers, arguing that stable and transparent rules are essential for long-term investment and innovation. On the home front, the South Korean government is stepping up its support for the semiconductor industry. In recent months, Seoul has rolled out expanded tax incentives for research and development, pledged new funding for infrastructure projects, and launched ambitious talent development initiatives. These efforts are designed to ensure that South Korea remains a global leader in chip design, manufacturing, and innovation, regardless of how the global technology map shifts. But what if these bold efforts are not enough? Let's consider some plausible future scenarios that could reshape not only Samsung, but the entire global technology landscape. One possible scenario is a fully divided technology world. If the United States and China press ahead with separate technology standards, Samsung may be forced to design and manufacture entirely different chips for each market. This would mean duplicating research and development efforts, building parallel supply chains, and facing steep increases in production costs. The logistical challenges would be enormous, and the risk of losing the innovative edge would rise as resources are stretched thin. Experts such as Peter Hanbury of Bain & Company emphasize, diversifying supply chains and exploring alternative technologies are essential strategies for Samsung to mitigate risks and ensure business continuity. But even with the best-laid plans, no company, however powerful, can easily straddle two diverging technology universes. Alternatively, Samsung could seize the initiative and turn crisis into opportunity. By doubling down on advanced chip technologies, expanding its footprint in regions like Southeast Asia and Europe, and pioneering new architectures such as RISC-V, Samsung could become a bridge between markets. The company's research teams are already working on next-generation semiconductor materials, collaborating with universities and startups around the world. These partnerships are not just about innovation. They are about future-proofing Samsung's business in a world where old certainties are vanishing fast. As Choi Do-yeon of Shinhan Investment Corp notes, Samsung's focus on customized artificial intelligence chips and targeted applications will allow it to sidestep broad export restrictions and maintain a competitive edge. Another scenario involves deeper collaboration among U.S. allies. If the United States, South Korea, Japan, and other partners intensify their cooperation, Samsung could find itself at the center of a formidable transnational technology alliance. Joint research initiatives, shared supply chains, and coordinated investment strategies could help Samsung and its allies outpace China's efforts at technological self-sufficiency. The U.S. CHIPS Act, for instance, has already set the stage for greater collaboration in semiconductor manufacturing, aiming to reshore production and reduce reliance on vulnerable supply chains. Meanwhile, China is not standing still. The country's push for technological sovereignty is gathering speed, with massive state investments in domestic chip makers and aggressive talent recruitment programs. If China succeeds in building a self-sufficient semiconductor ecosystem, global technology companies like Samsung will face a new set of challenges and opportunities as they adjust to a bifurcated world order. The implications of these scenarios extend far beyond the boardrooms of technology giants. For businesses, investors, and everyday consumers alike, the stakes could not be higher. If supply chains regionalize, as many experts predict, the next smartphone or laptop you purchase may be designed in one region, assembled in another, and rely on chips that are carefully vetted for compliance with shifting export rules. Prices could rise as companies pass on the costs of compliance and duplication. Innovation could slow, as research budgets are split across competing technology standards. And for countries that lack strong domestic technology industries, the risk of being left behind in the global race for digital supremacy grows ever more real. So, what practical lessons can we draw from Samsung's predicament? First, it is a powerful reminder that technology is never just about gadgets or speed. At its core, technology is shaped by politics, power, and the shifting sands of international alliances. Every chip, every device, every new feature is the product of complex negotiations, government policies, and strategic bets. For professionals working in technology, business, or investment, it is more important than ever to monitor how companies like Samsung adapt their strategies. Supply chain resilience, relentless innovation in core technologies, and the ability to pivot quickly in response to new rules are becoming the true keys to survival, not just for corporations, but for entire economies. The days of stable, predictable global supply chains are over. The winners of this new era will be those who can move swiftly, think globally, and adapt to uncertainty. For everyday consumers, the message is equally clear. Pay attention to where your devices come from and how they are made. As supply chains fragment and technology standards diverge, your choices as a buyer may become more limited. You might notice that new devices take longer to reach your local stores, or that prices edge upward as companies invest heavily in compliance and security. Understanding these shifts will help you make smarter decisions, not only as a consumer, but perhaps even as a voter, as governments around the world grapple with the trade-offs between security, innovation, and economic growth. Let's not forget the human element. Behind every headline about profits and losses are thousands of engineers, factory workers, and researchers whose livelihoods depend on the health of the technology industry. Samsung alone employs hundreds of thousands of people across Asia, the Americas, and Europe. The company's supply chain supports millions more jobs. Any disruption to its operations ripples outward, affecting communities, families, and entire regions. In a world where technology is more essential than ever, these human stories matter just as much as the financial ones. But there is hope amid the uncertainty. Here's a little-known fact. In the past 12 months, Samsung has quietly doubled its investment in next-generation chip research, launching a global network of collaborations with leading universities and promising startups. These behind-the-scenes efforts could prove to be Samsung's secret weapon, enabling breakthroughs in chip design, energy efficiency, and artificial intelligence performance. As Morris Chang, the legendary founder of TSMC, once said, "Excellence in semiconductor manufacturing is not just a matter of scale. It is a relentless pursuit of perfection." Samsung is betting that this pursuit will keep it ahead of the curve, even as the rules of the game change. So, as the lines are drawn and the world's technology giants battle for supremacy, remember, the shape of tomorrow's digital world is being decided today in boardrooms, laboratories, and government offices across the globe. What happens next at Samsung will not just determine the fate of a single company, but could redefine how billions of people access, use, and experience technology for years to come. If you found this deep dive enlightening, make sure to hit like and subscribe for more in-depth explorations of the world's biggest technology and economic challenges. And we want to hear from you. Do you think a divided technology world is inevitable? Or can companies like Samsung keep us connected across borders? Share your thoughts in the comments